Ever wondered what it takes to live a life of true wisdom and inner peace? A life where chaos and uncertainty don't knock you off your feet, a life where you stand firm, rooted in something solid, something timeless? We live in a world obsessed with fleeting pleasures, superficiality. It's a constant barrage on our senses, pulling us in 1,000 directions. No wonder so many people feel lost, adrift in a sea of meaningless distractions. But there is a better way. A path tested by time, forged in the crucible of human experience. A philosophy that doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of life, but instead teaches you to face them head-on. Today, we're diving into the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that can transform your life. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're tools, weapons even, to help you navigate the complexities of existence and come out stronger on the other side. Now let's talk about wisdom. Not the kind you find in dusty books, although books can be a starting point. No, I'm talking about a deep, visceral understanding of the world around you and your place within it. The Stoics believe that true wisdom begins with seeing reality for what it is, without illusion or self-deception. This means confronting your own mortality, your limitations, the things you can and cannot control. It's not about pessimism, but clear-sightedness. Think of the Stoic philosopher Seneca. He spoke of life's brevity, the ever-present shadow of death. Was he being morbid? No, he was reminding us to value our time, to focus on what truly matters. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. To see clearly, to understand deeply, and from that understanding, to make choices that align with nature, with reason, with the inherent order of the cosmos. You see, our minds are incredibly powerful, but also incredibly susceptible to distortion. We tell ourselves stories, we create narratives that confirm our biases, and we often end up lost in a world of our own making. This is where the discipline of perception comes in. The Stoics believed in examining our thoughts, challenging our assumptions, and ensuring that our perceptions aligned with reality. This isn't easy. It requires constant vigilance, a willingness to question everything. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher, wrote about this extensively in his Meditations. He reminded himself daily to see things as they are, to strip away the layers of judgment and opinion that cloud our vision. And this is the work we must all undertake if we want to cultivate true wisdom. It's about training the mind to see clearly, to discern truth from falsehood, and to base our actions on a solid foundation of understanding. Now, wisdom isn't simply about accumulating knowledge, it's about applying that knowledge, translating it into action in the real world. The Stoics understood that knowledge without action is sterile, impotent. Think of it like this. You can read every book on carpentry, memorize every technique, but until you pick up a hammer and nails, you'll never build anything worthwhile. The same principle applies to wisdom. It's about making sound judgments, navigating difficult situations with clarity and purpose. It's about choosing virtue, choosing what is right, even when it's difficult. And that, ultimately, is the fruit of Stoic wisdom. A life well lived, guided by reason, grounded in reality, and characterized by actions that reflect the best of what it means to be human. Now let's talk about courage. When you hear that word, what comes to mind? A fearless warrior charging into battle, a firefighter rushing into a burning building. These are certainly examples of physical courage, but Stoicism digs deeper. See, the Stoics understood that true courage wasn't the absence of fear. That's not courage, that's recklessness. True courage is about facing your fears, your anxieties, the things that make you want to hide. It's about acknowledging those fears, understanding their root, and then choosing to act despite them. It's about standing firm in the face of adversity, not because you're fearless, but because you understand that fear itself cannot harm you. It's about recognizing that the things we fear often hold no real power over us. It's our reaction to them, our willingness to be ruled by them, that gives them their power. Consider the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He lived a life of incredible hardship, born a slave, later exiled from his home. Yet through it all, he embodied a spirit of resilience, of unwavering courage. How did he do it? By focusing on what he could control, his own thoughts, his own reactions. He understood that external events, no matter how difficult, could not touch his inner core, his capacity for reason and virtue. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. We may not face the same trials as Epictetus, but we all have our own battles to fight, our own fears to overcome. And it's in those moments when we're tempted to give in, that Stoic courage offers a way forward. It's about saying yes to life, to all of it, the good and the bad, the joyful and the painful. It's about recognizing that even in the darkest of times there is always something within us that cannot be broken. Now you might be thinking, this sounds great for philosophers and emperors, but what about me? How does this apply to my daily life, filled with mundane tasks and routine challenges? I'm not facing life or death situations every day, and you'd be right, most of us aren't. But that doesn't mean courage is any less relevant. Stoic courage isn't reserved for grand gestures or heroic acts. It's found in the small, everyday moments that define our lives. It's the courage to face the day, to get out of bed when you're feeling low, to keep going when things get tough. It's the courage to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. To stand up in a meeting and share your ideas, even if you're afraid of being judged. It's the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular. To voice your opinions and fight for justice, even when others disagree. It's the courage to be kind in a world that often rewards ruthlessness. To show compassion and empathy even when it's easier to turn away. It's about facing your anxieties, your insecurities, and choosing to move forward despite them. To confront your fears head-on and not let them control you. It's about starting that project you've been putting off. Taking the first step towards a dream, no matter how daunting it seems. Having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Addressing issues that need to be resolved, even when it's uncomfortable. Taking that step outside your comfort zone, embracing new experiences, and allowing yourself to grow. Because ultimately, courage isn't about the absence of fear, it's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's about choosing to act in spite of it. To push through the fear and take action, no matter how small the step. And in those acts of courage, no matter how small they may seem, we forge our character, we build resilience, and we grow stronger. We define who we are, we shape our identity, and we become more aligned with our true selves. And in doing so, we become the best versions of ourselves, living a life of purpose, integrity, and courage. Justice. It's a word that echoes through the halls of civilization, a concept wrestled with by philosophers and kings for millennia. The Stoics, those titans of thought who navigated a world of chaos and uncertainty, held justice as a cardinal virtue, a cornerstone of their philosophy. For the Stoics, justice wasn't some abstract ideal, some unattainable aspiration. No, it was a principle woven into the very fabric of their being, a commitment to living in accordance with the natural order of the cosmos. This commitment to justice begins with the recognition that we are all interconnected. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." We are all part of a larger whole, and our actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate sphere of influence. To embody justice, then, is to live with a profound sense of responsibility, recognizing that our choices have consequences, not only for ourselves but for the intricate web of life that surrounds us. Now you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but what does justice look like in practice? Well, the Stoics would say that it begins with fairness, with treating others as we ourselves would wish to be treated. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every individual, regardless of their social standing, their wealth, or their perceived status. This means approaching every interaction, every encounter, with a sense of equity and respect. But it doesn't end there. True justice goes beyond mere interpersonal interactions. It extends to the very structures of society, demanding that we examine the systems and institutions that govern our lives. Are these systems designed in a way that promotes fairness and equity for all? Or do they perpetuate inequality and injustice? These are the difficult questions that a commitment to justice compels us to confront. In today's world, a world often characterized by division and discord, the Stoic conception of justice is perhaps more relevant than ever. We are bombarded with news of injustice, from systemic racism to economic inequality. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to succumb to a sense of despair and hopelessness. But the Stoics would urge us to resist that temptation. They would remind us that we each have a role to play in the pursuit of a just world. This doesn't necessarily mean staging grand protests or becoming political activists, although it certainly can. It can be as simple as treating those around us with kindness and respect, regardless of their background or beliefs. It can mean speaking out against injustice when we see it, even if it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Remember, as the Stoics taught, true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. Temperance. Now there's a word that doesn't get much airtime these days. In our age of instant gratification and excess, temperance might seem like a relic of a bygone era. But don't let its old-fashioned ring fool you. This virtue, my friends, is as relevant today as it was in the time of the Stoics. Temperance, in the Stoic sense, isn't about deprivation or self-denial. It's not about becoming some kind of ascetic monk, shunning all earthly pleasures. No, it's about balance. It's about finding that sweet spot between indulgence and abstinence. Think of it like this. Imagine a chariot driver, reins in hand, navigating a treacherous mountain path. If he lets the horses run wild, driven by their every impulse, the chariot will careen off the cliff. But if he pulls back too hard, keeps the horses in a constant state of restraint, they'll lose their spirit, their drive, and the chariot will never reach its destination. That, in essence, is the heart of temperance. It's about finding that delicate balance, that equilibrium between our desires and our reason, allowing us to move through life with both passion and control. In a world that constantly pushes us towards extremes, temperance is the quiet voice that reminds us to pause and reflect. It encourages us to enjoy the pleasures of life, but not to be enslaved by them. To savor moments of joy without overindulgence. To appreciate what we have without constantly yearning for more. Temperance teaches us that true happiness lies not in excess, but in moderation. It is the art of living well, of finding contentment in the simple, everyday moments. So let us embrace temperance not as a restriction, but as a path to a more fulfilling and balanced life. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's all very metaphorical, Dr. Peterson, but how do I actually practice temperance in my own life? Well, let's get practical. Temperance isn't just an abstract concept. It's a skill that can be honed and applied in everyday situations. The Stoics, ever the pragmatists, offered a number of techniques for cultivating temperance. These techniques have stood the test of time and can be seamlessly integrated into our modern lives. One such technique is what they called voluntary discomfort. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's incredibly effective. This involves intentionally exposing ourselves to mild discomforts like taking cold showers. The idea is to build resilience and mental toughness, or fasting for short periods. By doing so, we train our minds to endure and overcome challenges. Why on earth would we do this? It seems almost masochistic at first glance, because it strengthens our willpower, our ability to resist those immediate urges that can lead us astray. Think of it as a workout for your mind. Another practice is mindfulness. This isn't just some new age fad, it's a scientifically backed method for improving mental clarity and emotional regulation. Now, this isn't just some new age fad. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment. This is about paying attention, really paying attention to our thoughts, our emotions, our urges without judgment. It's about observing them as they are. Our emotions, our urges without judgment. The more aware we become of these inner workings, the less likely we are to be controlled by them. It's about gaining mastery over our own minds. The less likely we are to be controlled by them. And finally, we have the practice of delayed gratification. This one's simple, but not always easy. And finally, we have the practice of delayed gratification. This one's simple, but not always easy. It's about resisting the temptation to indulge in every whim, to seek immediate pleasure. It's about resisting the temptation to indulge in every whim, to seek immediate pleasure, and instead, learn to wait, to work towards something more meaningful, more enduring. And instead, learn to wait, to work towards something more meaningful, more enduring. By practicing delayed gratification, we develop patience and foresight, to work towards something more meaningful, more enduring. These practices, though simple, can profoundly impact our lives, helping us to lead more balanced and fulfilling lives. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds like a lot of work. And you know what? You're right. Living a tempered life isn't always easy. It requires effort, discipline, and a willingness to confront our own weaknesses. But the rewards, my friends, are immeasurable. When we cultivate temperance, we free ourselves from the tyranny of our impulses. We're no longer slaves to our desires, buffeted about by every passing whim. Instead, we become masters of ourselves, capable of making rational, thoughtful choices that align with our values, our goals, and our aspirations. And that, my friends, is true freedom. So there you have it, the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't just dusty old concepts relegated to the annals of history. They are timeless principles, tools for navigating the complexities of life, for becoming better, more virtuous human beings. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights into ancient wisdom and modern living. And here's a question for you. Which of the 4 cardinal virtues do you think is the most important in today's world? Let us know in the comments below.